Hello everyone and welcome back to another series, this time from the World Senior Team Championship. I'm very excited to bring you this series and I hope you do enjoy it. If you want us to make more series like this where we go over games or favorite moments from tournaments where American players are competing, feel free to let us know in the comments below or send a message to US Chess for more of these videos to be made. Personally, I wanted to highlight some of my favorite moments from this tournament. I think it's always nice when a world championship is taking place to try to highlight, but also be able to support our players. For this competition, US has sent 2 official teams, and I need to say, because originally I was saying World Team Championships, but it's actually a World Team Championship because there's one open section where both the ladies and the men are competing together. The prizes will be given separately, so you can actually, as the female team, could become a World Team Champion, but they're competing in the same event, right? So we have 2 official teams. Right now, I want to talk about the men's team. The men's team is composed of 4 grandmasters and 1 international master. The grandmasters are Jan Elvest, Gregory Kaidanov, Alexander Shabalov, who's also the captain, Igor Novikov, and international master Stuart Rachels. They are the 5 players competing, hopefully, for the top place. They've won in the past, so we're definitely rooting for them. The tournament, by the way, takes place in Prague, the Czech Republic, from February 17th until the 26th. And I'll try my best to bring as many favorite moments as possible. And of course, don't forget to let us know if you enjoy the video so that I can try to make even more. For the first round, I want to let you know that US team composed of Gregory Kaidanov, Alexander Shabalov, Igor Novikov, and Stuart Rachels won their first match with 3.5 to half against actually another American team, which is called Five Brothers. Hopefully I'm pronouncing the name of the player playing with the white pieces correctly. Junjuwala Suresh, one of the brothers, was playing with the white pieces against Grandmaster Igor Novikov. That was my favorite game of that round that I want to go over with you guys and discuss the moments. And without further ado, enough talking, let's get to some chess. White started with the move e4, and we had a closed Sicilian. Black, starts with d6. Personally, I play the Sicilian sometimes when I feel like it. More in blitz games, but oftentimes I've enjoyed these plans with e6, and I want you guys to know that whatever it is that you want to play, you can play it. And in fact, try out different things, try to follow games of strong players and get inspired to play different things and learn from them. And don't only look at games that are played in the lines that you do play. Anyways, d6 was played, bishop c4, and now Grandmaster Novikov went for the move knight f6. So these plans with bishop c4 are quite interesting in my opinion. Oftentimes I see people trying out, plans with f4 and then, maybe knight f3, g3, bishop g2. I think those are a bit more common for white. But when the pawn is not pushed to e6, you certainly can put the bishop on the diagonal, because by doing so, you're keeping it open, you're controlling the center. And if at some point you play f4, you will certainly be able to put pressure in f7. So black continued with knight f6, d3, g6, setting up some kind of a dragon. And now f4, as anticipated. The next couple of moves, I think, are quite normal. And right now, I've already highlighted some of the, plans that I think we tend to see for both white and black. So white has the idea to bring up the queen either to g3 or h4, has some ideas with f5, bring the bishop out to g5, or sometimes this bishop can also go to h6, right? If you have the queen in h4, you can support a trade. You're definitely planning on opening up the file with the bishop. As for black, most of the time we are anticipating ideas with a6, b5, pushing the bishop back and gaining more space on the queen side. But let's not forget there are ideas with the move e6, right? To close the bishop, maybe go for d5, because you know what they say, whenever you are attacked on a side of the board, you should counterattack in the center. Well, that is a rule that we should follow, but not always. Anyways, the game continued with queen e1, and I need to tell you a secret. Queen e1 is not just necessarily to bring the queen to h4, though that could be a main idea, but we have another hidden kind of gem, and that is to support the move e5, okay? This idea can be a bit unpleasant for black, even if you have the pawn in d6, but if you do play e5 and you're forcing some kind of a trade in e5, then suddenly the rook opens up, and with the bishop in c4, can put quite some pressure. So black decided to play e6, which I like. And now the engine is not a huge fan of this move for some reason. I think it's quite typical for white to play, and that is the move f5. I think it does make a bit more sense for white to anticipate potentially this d5 push. And in order to do that, you can either try to push the a pawn and move the bishop back, or just move it back directly. The problem with moving it back directly is you allow this move knight a5, and black can still go and grab your bishop. In fact, you know, this move kind of helps with restricting white's bishop. And we can go to take it, but not to be worried. I told you the secret about the queen in e1, right? We can go for e5, and the thing is now, you kind of have to go knight e8, right? To keep the pawn protected. If you take, gotta be mindful about this, because white can recapture with the pawn, pushing you back once again. And when you go back, knight e8 or knight d7, let's say knight d7 to put pressure, white can proceed with the development. Bishop g5, you gotta move the queen. Then we can try to bring the knight towards the center. We got this nice outpost here. We got another nice outpost here. So white's position is going to be quite nice. We get the bishop, but we've wasted a bit of time and we're behind with development. So going back to the position of the game, white decided to go for f5. I don't know why the engine doesn't like it. Personally, I think it's the right thing to do. Black responded with e takes f5. Now, d5 was an interesting alternative because, well, as I said, attack on the flank, counterattack in the center, but then maybe e5 was going to be played, and we had to calculate things. Of course, we cannot just move the knight back because, guys, I really need to show this because this is something you do not want to allow. Please do not allow something like this. You don't want to allow your bishop to get restricted. Yeah, sure, you can sacrifice the knight, but then pawn takes, again, we're attacking the bishop, and you will stay with material disadvantage. So, you know, you're either going to die with your bishop in h8 or you stay with material disadvantage. Which do you choose? I don't think you should choose either one of them. So be mindful about these kinds of restrictions. This is something you definitely do not want. You can say, yeah, but with my bishop in h8, I'm keeping my king safe. Yeah, but you are basically playing without a bishop, so I don't think that's the right kind of approach that you want to have. But we can certainly consider this trade, f takes, and then we can probably capture back with the queen. And, you know, white has maybe this in-between move. We'll take here. And I think this position should be quite fine for black, but it does give a bit of initiative to white, and maybe black wanted to avoid it. The way the game was played, those complications were avoided, because now e takes f5 just kind of says, you know what, I'm just maintaining, you know, nice pawn structure, and I'm just stopping your attack. I don't want to complicate things. Queen h4, and now another typical move for black in these types of positions, knight d4. We actually see this move, knight d4, in e4, positions too, because this is some kind of an outpost that you get, particularly when the queen moves away from the defense of this pawn. We can certainly put the knight and create some threats. And here, white was a bit too much focused on a kingside attack and chose the move bishop h6. Instead, maybe bishop g5 could have been a bit unpleasant. Just following up with the pin that I told you guys earlier, I think would have given white a slightly more comfortable position. But instead, bishop h6 was played, and now very interesting answer by black, which was bishop takes h6. After queen takes, knight g4, the queen has to go back. So of course, if you had one more move with white and you could play knight g5, then this knight would be bound to protect h7. And then if the f file opens up, or we have this idea with knight d5, oops, we're going to deal with some mating ideas. That's why knight g4 is very important. Chase this queen away. Once the queen is gone, we know there's no attack, so we can focus on maybe an attack of our own. And I really like how Grandmaster Novikov continued here. Knight takes f3, rook takes f3, and now he took in e4. So basically now you're looking at the position and you're saying, oh, wait, white has tried the attack, but they're a bit behind it now. Black is up a pawn. But what did white get from this entire situation? Well, Black's king has remained a tad weak without the dark square bishop. But how are you going to take advantage of those squares? That might need to take a bit of time. Rook f4, e3. I was a bit surprised by this move, because I think if you push that pawn a bit too soon, you might not be able to hold on to it, and eventually you might lose it. But he does have two pawns right now, right? White didn't get his second pawn. So, you know, eventually you will lose it. You're saying, well, at least maybe white will not capture it with the knight and come to put pressure on my king. But I don't know why he chose not to take here. Maybe there were some things that were not very pleasant. Maybe rook f1 was something that white could continue with. But sincerely, I looked at this position and I didn't find anything concrete for white. But it could be, you know, when you're playing, you're a bit uncomfortable about the situation on your king. Maybe this pawn can capture back. Maybe the knight comes to e4 or d5, and it can get unpleasant. So at least by making a move with tempo, at least you're keeping white from bringing their pieces to the attack. I think the next few moves that were played by both sides were very natural moves. Black is trying to complete their development and try to trade some more pieces, while white does the same thing while bringing new pieces to the attack. So, of course, we don't want to give up the bishop. That's a very strong piece to have to put pressure on Black's king. Bishop e6. I like this move. Let's trade. We got extra material. Let's trade. Queen takes, and now queen e7. Black did not rush to trade the bishop. Of course, that could have been something to do. But here, if you want to make sure you're not scared of any attack, you can play f5. It weakens the king a little bit, but also it maintains it safe because it does not allow the two pieces to get, you know, to support a piece in f6. But Grandmaster Novikov decided for the development. Now he has completed his development. He has connected the two rooks. For those of you who are watching, are more chess improvers and are thinking, what is it that I should do when I have extra material? Well, first you need to make sure that you have all your pieces out. Rook a to f1 and f5 once again. So he chose to have a similar approach where they don't allow that f file to be opened, but without trading the bishops and helping white bring the knight towards the outpost. I like that approach. d4. Now this is a nice move because white is saying, oh my goodness, I lost a pawn. My attack is gone. I need to come up with some kind of counterplay. I don't want to just stay in a position where all my pieces will be traded and I'll have nothing. So I really like white's approach too. And also, think about the rating difference between these two players. It's almost like more than 500 rating points difference. But white does not give up. White finds its way to maintain something to do, put some pressure. That's the right kind of approach. So now what happened? After d4, of course, black is going to trade. So in a way, white gave up this outpost, right? Black's knight in e5 will not be chased away. But what did white get? Well, white got this. Can I make it another color? Let's see if I manage. This is a backwards pawn, right? So this pawn in d6 is a backwards pawn. And white now has a plan to put pressure on the backwards pawn. Rook d8 and doubling up. a6, very nice move to stop a potential knight b5. Another piece that could come to put pressure on d6. Bishop takes e6, queen takes e6, and now white decided to block the pawn. You know, here's the thing with the rules that I like to always mention is that, well, when there's an isolated pawn, you might want to blockade it, but not always. Maybe sometimes if it's not pushed forward, maybe you don't need to blockade it. So rook d5 maybe was not necessarily the best choice. I would have liked the knight here personally. I think the knight looks a bit better than a rook. And then white can think of some kind of setup, in my opinion, with b3, c4, and just try to keep this pawn backwards in a way. But in the game, rook d5 was played. But this allowed the move f4. And black would have switched over now for a potential kingside attack. It was not played in the game. Instead, rook f to e8 was played. h3 to stop some kind of knight g4. And now beautiful decision by black, knight c4. Because of this fork, we are kind of telling white, hey, let's just trade queens. I have an extra pawn. I want to go towards an endgame where, you know, I should be having more simple chances to win the game. And white said, no, I do not want to trade. Take my pawn if you want to, but if you do take it, you might give me some counterplay. Rook b1, rook takes b7. Got to be careful with that. So, of course, black did not want to do that. Black was definitely determined to trade queens, and so he did. He played the move queen to e3 here. No trade, no trade. If I trade, oopsie, I'm losing material. So please be careful with those trades. Be careful how you allow the trades to happen. King h1. And now black did not rush to trade queens. He took in b2 because now he thought, well, rook b1, if you play, I'm going to maybe play this fancy move, queen to g3. It actually happened in the game, so that's why you see the exclamation point there. Take my knight, but then what's going to happen? I'm going to checkmate you, so, well, you got to be careful for that. Queen f6. What I like about this position is that white does not give up. White is looking for the weaknesses and tries to create some swindle ideas, and he almost managed to. Guys, he almost managed to, and this is what I want you guys to see. In this position, black made a mistake. Grandmaster Novikov chose to play this move b5, which unfortunately allows white sufficient counterplay that could lead to a draw. If you're watching this, make sure to pause the video and try to find a way for white to create some counterplay that will lead to a draw. Have you found it? I hope you did. Unfortunately for him and to, the good luck of Grandmaster Novikov, white did not find it. White ended up going for this small tactic, but unfortunately it did not pay off. So we do have this potential discovery that we can do right now with white. So you just need to find the right place to move the knight. In the game, white went for knight takes b5, and now knight c4 could have been played, and then the knight comes towards the attack, rook e2. It's close to being decisive, but instead of this move, apparently this cute idea could have been played. Knight to e4 with tempo to the queen and opening up this queen to the knight, right? But also closing down the rook to the back rank mate. So the thing is, now you have to take, but don't you dare take with the rook, right? That rook is necessary there to keep this one protected. So we need to capture with the pawn. And now, because white is doing worse, white is down material, white can look for this cute little idea to save themselves with a perpetual check. Rook to g5. Gotta move the queen wherever you move it. It's not going to help you because rook takes g6, pawn takes g6, queen takes g6 is going to lead to a perpetual check. King h8 only move, and you gotta take the draw. You could attempt king h7, but unfortunately you still have no escape from my unpleasant checks. Don't you dare go to h5 because g4 would be my favorite kind of move mate. So, you don't want to make my favorite move. Not when you're playing, at least. So that would have given white the chance to save the game. That was the solution that I was looking for when I told you to pause the video. Now, in the game, instead of b5, probably black should have played this very nice prophylactic idea, rook to d7. See, when your king is a bit weak and you have some pieces hanging, you always want to make sure you cover everything, and you always want to make sure your pieces, they're kind of protecting each other and out of harm's way so that deflections cannot happen. So rook d7 would have been a nice way to cover the 7th rank. Instead, b5 was played, and like I said, white missed a great opportunity to save the game with a draw. Instead, knight takes b5 was played here, and now a pawn takes, queen takes b2, a rook e2, pressure. Only move to defend in this position is rook g1. And now the position might still be kind of okay for white, but it is difficult, and with the two players getting low on time, it wasn't easy to find the only moves. Queen takes b5, rook takes c7, and now rook takes c2, apologies. And now, unfortunately for him, white made a blunder here. He made a blunder after which the game is over. The last chance to try to draw here was maybe queen takes d6. And if you trade queens, yes, we can get this endgame. But I think, okay, black can still play it out, but it might end in a draw. And you may tell me, okay, Sabina, but why did you say that white should have made a draw? Well, if you remember, after knight b5, I told you the best move for black would have been knight c4, after which the game will be kind of unpleasant, close to game over. But in this position, this was the end. Queen takes d6 still could have been the final moment to draw, but white made this blunder, rook takes d6. So in this position, please pause the video and find the final tactic idea with which black won. And the final gorgeous move was queen takes h3. A beautiful way to finish the game, which brought US their 3.5 to half win. I certainly hope you enjoyed this video, this game, and you know, let us know in the comments if you want to see more of these, and I'll see you in the next one.